Hello, everybody. I have nothing to declare. This lecture is based on a study of implanters and FUE graft quality I have published in the 3rd issue of the forum this year. Goals, material, and methods. Implanters are getting more and more popular, and there are two opinions. Implanters protect the grafts, and implanters can harm the grafts. But there is little data. The goal is to understand how using implanters affect the FUE grafts, and what happens to the grafts when we load implanters and place with them. We tested common beliefs about the use of implanters. Loading. Do grafts get crushed as they are squeezed into the needle? Are they getting cut by the bevel? Is there a damage from multiple reloads? Placing. Do implanters really prevent hooking or crushing of FUE grafts? So we used two test methods. We analyzed the grafts before and after the use of implanters. And we analyzed the process of loading and placing. We analyzed the graft quality on microscopic photos before and after the use of sharp needle implanters. We extracted the graft, took picture before implantation, we implanted the graft, we re-extracted the grafts and took pictures after the use of implanter. We used a 10-time magnification from various sites. On the photos, we counted and evaluated the follicles for 5 types of injuries on each follicle, plus any other observed. So, transaction, pairing, desheathing, and crushing as a typical loading injury, and crushing, hooking, and breakage as a typical placing injury. We had 7 cases with a total of 15,147 follicular units. We analyzed 482 follicular units, or 3.2%, which is equal to 1,292 follicles, or hairs. We analyzed the work of the loaders and the placers in videos. We did an evaluation of the reload, speed, and timeout of the solution. Overall results. They were quite impressive. The implanters leave 99.5% of all follicles intact. We had only 6 damaged follicles. The loading. There was no loading injuries at the follicles. This was quite surprising. We had 0 cut injuries, 0 damage from squeezing into the needle. So the concern of a needle squeezing is an absolute non-issue. Here you see the typical graft in our study, intact without any loading damage. And the question is why? Did we use small grafts or did we use large implanters? The answer is no. We used large grafts. 61.2% had 3 or more hairs with an average of 2.7 hairs untrimmed. And we used small needles. In 5 cases, the needles were even smaller than the punch size. Here you see a typical example. Punch size was 1 millimeter, the implanter needles 0.8 millimeter. So the explanation was sharp punch with minimal depth control. When you use this punch, you score only to the point of release. And when you then pull them out with the forceps, you have denuded follicles. And the skin plug is larger than the follicles. Denuded follicles fit easily in small implanter needles. There's no squeezing and the plugs can rest outside the groove. Reloads are rare. We had only one reload. The time out of solution was 8.2 seconds and the speed of implantation was 1,019 follicle units per hour. Placing. Placing's injury happened rarely and we discovered two new types. 3 follicles of 1,292 or 0.2% were hooked. This means hooking is not entirely preventable with implanters. But the question is, what happened? It's a new type of injury which is not the same like hooking with forceps. With forceps, you have a proximal hooking. The follicle falls in the lower portion of the bulb, near the bulb. It happens deep inside the incision and it's invisible for the placer and mostly fatal. With implanters, you have a distal hooking. The follicle falls in the upper portion distally as it sticks on the surface. It's visible from the outside and the placer can rectify it as it happened. It's not fatal. At risk are large bulbs and splay. Another surprising culprit are the trimmed hairs entering the groove. Distal hooking is likely in hairy recipient site. The hair is like a spear and can lift up the bulb and hooking occurs, like how you see nicely on these pictures. And you can rectify as it happens. 1 minute. One hair follicle, 0.1%, had what I called a decapitated bulb. It's, again, a new entity. What happened? The bulb slips under the tip and cuts off as the needle enters the skin. Low-laying and large bulbs particularly are at risk. Then you give it back to the loader. The conclusion: implanters are safe and efficient for FUE grafts. The risk of graft damage is almost inexistent. Loading leaves FUE grafts intact. Do not worry about needle squeezing. Most follicles are small enough to fit into the needles. Placing is where things happen with implanters. It's up to the placers to prevent distal hooking and bulb decapitation. Here you see my implanter statistic. Thank you very much.